XRP is down almost 20% from its recent high of around $3.65. And a lot of people are wondering, is it going to continue to go down? Is it going to bounce and pump? What's next for XRP? I'm going to show you what I've done, how I got to my conclusions, and what I'm doing next. So with that, remember, I am not a financial advisor. This is certainly not financial advice. If you want to do what I do, great, but I'm just showing you what I'm doing for entertainment value. And if you get any value out of it, please hit the like button. And if you're not a subscriber, I would greatly appreciate you subscribing to the channel to hear future information about XRP, Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, all the major coins. And with that, let's get into it. I made this chart the other day, and there's a lot going on here, and I'll take you through this real briefly, and I'll show you how I got there. But we had this, since the beginning of the year, we had this downward descending channel. It started to consolidate. You know, this was a downward descending channel, but it did start to wedge up and consolidate, you know, right around this time. And we got into this tighter coil, and it just bounced. I mean, it went up rapidly. As you know, we were down here at like the $2.20 mark, and it just shot up to 365 in a matter of a couple of days, not weeks, right? And so when we got up here, you know, think about it. This thing shot up, and I said, look, when we hit this, the one Fibonacci at $3.40, I said, look, it's gonna play around. It's either gonna, you know, bounce, shoot up to the upside, or bounce to the downside. And what happened was it bounced to the downside because, you know, people take profits in crypto. I mean, the smart people do. You don't want to get held on to your bags forever. And so what I did, I had a couple leveraged long positions, and I wrote them up. I took profits on the way up to 365. I didn't liquidate all of my positions. And what I did do is set a stop loss. How can I get rid of this? Well, let's go to this chart. I set a stop loss. We'll get there in a second. I set a stop loss at 330, right around 330, because that was a very strong floor of support. I mean, the 340 was the first one. There's a little gap zone between 340 and 330, and then there's a very strong floor of support. If it went through that floor, I knew it was going to the downside lower, and that's exactly what happened. So my position, the rest of my position got sold, and then, you know, we saw this go all the way down to about 297-ish, which was a drop of, about, 18%? Yeah, right around 18%, almost 20% drop in XRP. Now, I like to have positions, and this is a market where a lot, you know, it's you know, where are we going next? But you have to be very cautious if you open up leveraged positions in these zones here, because we still, like I drew this circle the other day, we still have the ability to go back down to the 220 mark. You know, so it could definitely fall through. Now, this right here, the $3.01 is a very strong zone. The 786 Fibonacci level is a very strong zone because, and I'm going to show you how I drew all these in a second, but that's a very strong floor support. And if it busts through there, it could have the momentum to back right through the golden zone and get all the way down to the 0.5 and even the 0.382. That would be a major reset, and I would hope that doesn't happen, but hope is a terrible strategy in crypto. Hope is an absolute terrible strategy. Another strategy that's terrible is holding on to things forever and hoping that they'll go up, because that just doesn't happen. We don't just have things that go up and to the right forever. So this is the recent XRP chart. And if you look at from the beginning of the year through here, we had this like almost perfect descending wedge, and descending channel, and then it started to wedge up from here. Of course it messed up. We'll move this wedge here. Okay, it started to wedge up here, and you can see that's a terrible drawing, but I think you get the point. And so look, when it broke out of this wedge right here, you know, we knew it was going up based on just the amount of pressure it had been coiling, condensing, consolidating for weeks, if not months. And the pressure built up, it blew up, and now people were taking profits right around this zone here, you know, right around the 340 zone. People were taking their profits. And then we've had a bounce down to the downside to come down here. Now, I also take a look if we draw Fibonacci from swing market high, swing market low, you can see this floor of support right now is strong. We've wicked through that floor of support, but we haven't closed a candle. But the downtrend is clear and evident. Is it going to continue to go down, or might it bounce back up? And I'll tell you that there wasn't a huge catalyst other than price action that pushed the wicks down, which means that I believe that if you have set a major economic event, news, something like that, it could drive it back up because people were just, a little shifty. We're teeter-tottering at the top, and people are going, which way can it go? Like I even said, that had the ability to bounce off this floor and go up, or bounce through the floor and go down. And how far down can we go? Well, technically we could go to zero. I don't see that happening with XRP with all the positive news that's going on, but technically we can always go to zero and never forget that ever, right? But we can also bounce back off this floor of support. Now, this is a strong ceiling of resistance. This top here is a strong ceiling of resistance because it was flipped from support to resistance once we broke through there. And the next move up, if we move up to the upside, might bounce off this ceiling before it busts through. So that could take some time. Now, here's the important thing to look at. What am I looking at? What am I doing? So if you'll recall, I sold a position. My position, I sold it on the way up. I sold it at 330, 340, 345, 350, 355. I don't know if I got to 360, 365. I might have sold some there, but I didn't sell all when we were at the top. And, I had a stop loss set at 330, so I could still get out of that trade with profit. By the way, I do my trading on BTCC. I've been doing trading on BTCC for about a year and a half, 2 years now. It's worked very well for me on leveraged trades. But that being said, if you wanna check it out, there's some affiliate links down below. I may make money, probably will make an affiliate commission. If you do sign up on those, it goes to support the channel. But none of this is sponsored content that I do on my channel. People ask me all the time to sponsor it. Unless I use it, I won't even talk about it. All right, so look, we went up. I started to DCA back into a position because I don't know I really don't know. Anyone who tells you they know what's going to happen next is either delusional or lying, right? Because we saw this bounce to the downside. It went through there. Might bounce around there. It could go down to the downside, or it could bounce up and then bounce off this ceiling and go through or back down. There's so many different options. And for anyone to tell you they know what's going to happen next is crazy. So I plan accordingly. So what I did is I bought in a position. I start to buy in a little bit at a time as we go down. So I bought in at 320. That's 10 cents below where I stopped myself out. I bought in at 315, 307. I don't know if I got down to 301, but I'm still in a losing position right here. But my average open price is 322. That's still below where I sold. I sold at 330. So technically, I've bettered my position. Even though I sold there and my opening position was like 215 or 220, I've still bettered my position. Now, if this continues to go down, I will buy in. I probably won't stop myself out because I believe in XRP for the long term. Now, that last piece is hopium. That is hoping that it goes up based on my cognitive bias, what I know about XRP out there. Price action would tell me that's not smart. But I am a hybrid trader. This is terrible, and don't do what I do. This is why I'm just sharing you. This is almost a video journal of what I'm doing. But I will continue to buy on the way down. And I've only used a little bit, about 10% of my available capital to buy in. So I've got a lot of dry powder in this account in order to DCA back down. So that's why when I went in my position at 322 or 325 actually, I didn't put all my capital in there. I put like 10%, not even 10%, like 5%. And then I bought a little more back down. I pulled my position to 322. We are at 316 right now. And as this bounces around and goes down, I'll probably buy in a little bit more. I'm not going to go more than 20% into my available capital in this account on this trade. And if it goes past then, I have a stop loss. I am worried about this 0.618 Fibonacci zone. Let's see, is this going to draw? Yep. I'm a little bit worried always of it going through the 0.618. So I'll set a stop loss probably just below the 0.618 at 271 so I don't liquidate my account. And I believe that trade will only risk a certain amount of this account. But remember, these, when I do leverage trades, I'm not looking for little base hits. This is my spot bags are where I go. That's where my long-term play is. I buy and hold in my spot bags. And for these leverage trades, this is a way to make a little more equity capital that I can buy back more spot. So I do go a little bit more for broke on these than I do as a conservative trader. I'm not looking to make my money in trades. I'm looking to add to it, and it's kind of like gravy on top. And it's more for the entertainment value as well. So XRP, I see it going, bouncing around. I'm going to DCA into that position. I will have a stop loss set around the 271 mark. I haven't set that yet because I'm watching this. I have alerts set. And if we bounce through this 0.786, that's when I'm going to get nervous. If we close a candle below the 786 Fibonacci, right around the $3 mark, whether it's 297 to 302, depending on how you draw your Fibonacci's, because mine are not always the most accurate, but there's a zone there where if it closes the candle below there, I will get nervous. And with that, that's all I got. I hope you understand a little bit about what I'm doing. I'm not telling you to do that, but just let me know what you're doing down in the comments, how you're playing this market. And with that, I will see you next time.